Okay. How y'all doing, man? Somebody say something in it. Okay, 29. Okay. Laila Ali, how you doing, Laila? Glad to see you in here. Everybody say hello to Laila Ali. Laila Ali is in the chat. Everybody say hello. Everybody, every day y'all ask about Laila. So now you got Laila Ali in the chat. What's up, Denise? Everybody make sure to tell Laila hello. She took time out to come out here and talk to y'all. It's amazing, man. So Laila, how's everything going? It's really good. Good to see you. See you in the chat. Glad you're doing well. How's the family? How's everything going in the Laila Ali household? I'll wait for her to respond. It's really cool, man. We really appreciate you coming to the chat tonight, Laila. Really appreciate it, man. So, you know, there's a lot going on in boxing. A lot going on in boxing. And I have my phone on too, Laila, in case you know you get time to call in. You know what I mean? It says Hood got the money green, yeah. Everybody, we got Laila Ali inside of the chat. Let me see, I know she's busy. She's gonna type and I want to see what she had to say, man. Very exciting to have Laila Ali join us for the chat. Yep, man, boy, the chat is bubbling, man. The chat is bubbling. This is amazing. Well, you know, there's a lot. Laila says, excellent. Just cleaning my kitchen after cooking. Oh, okay. I cooked today too. You know what I mean? Today I cooked some Korean chicken. It's called bulgogi, man. I cooked bulgogi. I used chicken. And then with my sons for lunch, we made them sandwiches, man. Yep. So Laila, what do you think about women's boxing right now, man, compared to when you were fighting? You know, when you take a look at women's boxing right now, do you think the competition is more difficult then, or you think the competition is more difficult now? Just curious to know what you think about the competition right now, because there's so many really good female fighters out there. I'm just curious to know your opinion on, you know, how things were then opposed to kind of how they are now. And then we'll get to some of the juicy stuff in a second. Just curious to know your opinion, you know, as all these comments are floating through here. I'm trying to pick out the one from Laila. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, for those of y'all who are curious, this right here, shop.lailaali.com. You guys go right there, and you guys can order whatever y'all need, the spices and everything else. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. I know it takes a time for these, for the comments in the chat. Earl, what's going on, Earl? I appreciate the $5. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Okay. All right, where are we at here? Get back here to the comments. Let me see, where's Laila? She type again. But yeah, we're just curious to know your opinion on, you know, how things were when you were fighting, kind of your opinion on women's boxing right now. Just curious. And if you have time, you know, you got the phone number you could call in. Says, Laila, thank you for being you. Hey, Laila, the champ is here. Everybody going crazy right now. Everybody's excited. I'm telling you what, Laila Ali boxing, women's boxing right now, it's interesting. A lot of women are doing great, but you for sure, your name, although you've been retired for quite some time, your name is still buzzing. You know what I'm saying? And all of us feel you're still the face of women's boxing. You know, we all feel that way. What's the site again? Oh, the site's right here. I probably should pin it for y'all. Oh, there we go. Hello?
Hi there.
All right, let me put you on speaker. What's up, Laila?
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I really appreciate you calling into the show. Everybody is buzzing right now, man.
Look, I was going to try to go ahead and text, but that was just too much work. I said, let me just go ahead and call when I have a moment. So you might hear me doing some things around the house in the background, but I don't think anybody minds.
Well, that's fine. And I know you don't have long, so I just we just sit here and conversate, man. So let me ask you. I was asking you while you were in the chat. What do you think about? First, let me say, how you doing? You're fine. Family's good. Everything's good.
Yeah, everybody's great. My husband and my son went to my son's baseball game. It's about an hour away, and I stayed home with my daughter, and everybody's thriving. I got a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old who's driving now. So, any parents out there that have been through that would understand. I know you have children, right? But How old is your oldest?
My oldest will be 16, and the next one will be 14, 12, and 9 this year.
So are you teaching him to drive now, the 16-year-old?
Well, he wants to learn, but I'm like, you got to show me that you can be responsible. Like, I don't want to get him behind that wheel until he can prove that he can be, get up and get himself to school on time and just do the simple things around the house.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, I can't put you behind that vehicle,
Right. I was still in my mom's car at 11 years old. So I got lucky that I have kids that, they don't want any trouble. So I got real lucky with mine.
You were driving at 11?
I was driving at 11. Yeah, I was a little crazy. Still am, but hey, it is what it is. But I can't even. And I'm so nervous for my 17-year-old. I have to remind myself, like, fool, you were 11 years old, still in your mama's car. You
Right.
should be all right.
Right. But that's young. We did some stuff, but not. I was out running around at 10, 11, but I wasn't taking no car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was a bit much. I wrote about it in my first book, Reach, Finding Strength, Spirit, and Personal Power. All the things I went through, but that's another conversation.
Right. So let me ask you, man. There's a lot going on. I'll save the juicy stuff for a little bit, but just when you were fighting, right? I keep hearing this thing like when Laila Ali was fighting, Christy Martin, Ann Wolfe. It was so much easier than now. There was no competition. I don't know if I don't agree with that. I just want to get your opinion when people are trying to compare this era of women's boxing to when you were fighting. Do you think that one era is easier or one era is more difficult, or it's about the same?
I wouldn't say that one era is easier or more difficult. I think that the sport in entirety has evolved, right? And those that come behind us, learn from watching us and build on that. And that's how it's supposed to be with anything. But it's all relative, right? So there were so many talented women back in the day. And I could say this whenever I did an interview like I'm doing now, or whether it be on a magazine, Jet Magazine, Essence Magazine, any of Today's Show, Good Morning America, I would always say there are so many women that are boxing that just aren't getting recognition. I have a last name. I would always point that out. And there was girls like Alicia Ashley and, Kim Messer and Bridget Baby Doll Riley. And, there was a girl in my weight class, Trina Ortegon. I never got to fight. She retired, but she was a beast, and her skill level, probably wasn't that high, but she was about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that if people were to Belinda Laura Quinte, Kathy Rivers, these are girls that Christy Martin even fought. But I would say that my weight class, and I used to say this while I was fighting, had the least amount of talent. And I can say that because I'm confident in myself. That it didn't take away from what I could do, but that was what I faced, because you get tired of fighting girls that you can beat. Are going to be easy competition. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons I left the sport.
Right. Now, you were at 168, right?
I fought at 168, and then when I got towards the end, I fought at 175. I have a title at 175 also. So I have 5 world titles, but I pretty much just say, I say 4, but I have 5.
Okay. Do you think back then that maybe you could have cut down, but from 168 to maybe 160, 154? People don't realize that you're not 5'3". They don't realize.
No. I was a 168 was where I need to be. I'm 200 now. 190, 200, and You can see I'm not overweight. It's just
Right.
that, I filled out. It's when when you look at somebody like Alicia Baumgartner, right, where you can see her body fat percentage is low. That's how I was.
Right.
She's shorter, more compact, it's a different build. But that's pretty much how my body was, right? So there really wasn't much smaller than I can go. When I fought Christy Martin, I came down, I think, to 160. And that was like, I had no power. I had no power in that fight. So that just wasn't a smart place for me to be. But yeah, 168. Then I had a hard time even getting to 175. One time I fought in South Africa, I had to get on the scale naked. They put something around me.
Yeah.
But I'm saying just to make weight.
Wow.
So, and all of my fights were title fights once I became a world champion. And so you get stripped of your title if you don't make weight.
Right. If you had one more fight in your prime, who would you have liked for it to have been against before you retired?
Yeah, you already know Ann Wolfe. If that was a fight that should have happened and never happened, that the fans should have seen, that would have taken women's boxing. That's what it needed, and that's another thing that I said then. It's like people don't want to just see me continually fighting people they don't know. What styles make fights, the opponents' names make fights. When you have someone in there that people are afraid, for you to fight or think, oh, that she's gonna get knocked out or what's gonna happen in this fight, right? So many people would assume back then, oh, she's gonna knock Laila out simply because of the way I look. They never saw me get hurt. They never saw me almost get knocked out. I never gave any indication that I was a punk, that I couldn't take a shot. Actually, you've seen me take some shots. If you watch my fight, I actually had a chin on me like my father. But, that's what will make it so much fun to see, and I knew it was going to happen. But, that unfortunately never happened.
Yeah, we have a couple of people who float in the chat, and I think I know who those personalities are. But they always say, oh, well, she had it, and Father Ali's last name. And I'm like, I know having that last name, it may have opened some doors, but it kind of backed you in the corner to where you couldn't make mistakes and you had to win. How difficult was it being Muhammad Ali's daughter, boxing, knowing you could not lose?
I saw that my PR got approved, but there was a test failure. And, I have become so lazy. Like, the moment I'm like, oh, I've got to go.
I don't really look at it as difficult. Just my mindset was just, it is what it was. I couldn't help what my last name was. But it absolutely helped me in terms of why I'm, globally known now, because people know my father. And it's like, oh, no, it's not Muhammad Ali, it's Laila Ali. But it can't be just that, right? I had to back it up. And, of course, I had a lot of pressure on me. Of course, I had a spotlight on me. I did not get to fight amateur and get good, and then all of a sudden get attention. People been watching me since my pro debut. My first fight ever stepping in a ring. I had 80 different media outlets there ready to report.
Wow.
Whatever happened, Luckily, I fought this girl that couldn't have beat me if I closed my eyes. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'll be honest about that now, but I thought I was getting in there with a beast, because my team didn't tell me, look, you fighting this girl that's really, really, really soft. All I knew is that she was 0-1. She had one more fight than me, and I was ready for war, and I knocked her out in 54 seconds. But what that did for me was get that experience. Like, what is it going to feel like walk into the ring, knowing all this attention is on you, knowing that your father that told you don't do it, I don't want you to do it, you can't do it, it's not for you. What's that going to feel like? And having the lights on you. Because I can say, yeah, I'm going to get in there, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, but until you actually go do it and prove it, if you have the right team around you, they're going to make sure, because they understand the weight of the situation, that there's no way that I lose. So, but for me, I was like, ooh, I like this, knocking people out, I get the same check and go home early, I think I'll keep doing this, so that's kind of how that happened.
Okay, so 24 wins, 21 knockouts. You didn't start boxing at 8, 9 years old. You didn't have an expanded amateur background. When did you start boxing?
I started boxing when I was about 18. I saw women's boxing on television for the first time when I turned on a Mike Tyson fight, saw Christy Martin fighting Deidre Dougherty, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know women boxed. So in that moment, obviously being Muhammad Ali's daughter, I was surprised that I didn't know. And I went home dreaming about it. I went home wanting to do it. And at the time, I had my nail salon, Layla's Nail Studio. I had a full clientele. I was going to City College. I was living on my own. I've always been very independent. And I started training secretly and started going to the gym. And then 6 months or so into it, my father found out I dropped a guy in the gym. And it's funny because the guy's still around now. I would never say who he was. But I dropped a guy in the gym. And of course, when that happens, people start talking. So they were like, wait a minute, what's she trying to do? So I got back to my dad and he asked me and I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. And that's when we had the big talk, and I just said, look, I'm going to do it regardless. So you're either going to support me or you're not. And then he ended up supporting me because I'm his daughter, even though he didn't want me to do it.
When you say you dropped the guy in the gym, was that, because a lot of us have spent time in the gym. Was he just working with you or y'all were going at it and you dropped him?
First of all, anytime a man's in the ring with you, they're working with you. Anytime, unless you have an idiot, okay? Right. But in most situations, when a woman is sparring a man is only going to give you 50, 60%. Now, there's been times when I've been in there with some heavyweights, because all I spar with men. A lot of women spar men. There's nothing, weird or different about that, especially women my size, because it's hard to find women. And if you're a puncher like me, after 2 rounds, they start wearing down. You're not really getting any work. So I was trained by Roger Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather Sr., Buddy McGirt, and more. There's other world champions in the ring. Arturo Gatti I sparred with. Layman Brewster. Yep. Derek Harmon. I don't know if you remember him.
I know all of those names.
Many other ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are guys I've been in the ring with. But they weren't like regular sparring partners. We maybe spar once or twice, and then there was regular guys that were smaller. I could spar. I remember a 130-pounder, who I still keep in touch with now. Eduardo was his name. He's a 130-pounder, and he hurt me in the ring. Like, he spun me, and I didn't see the punch coming, and I was seeing stars, and I started laughing. And he was like, "Oh my God, Laila, I'm so sorry." He felt so bad. And I said, "It's okay. I said, "That's crazy." Because I was like, I can't. So every time I see him now, I'm like, man, you're the one that almost knocked me out. I joke with him.
Right.
But yeah, the guy, that was a long-winded way of saying, no, we were just working, but he was probably about 140 pounds, and I was very green. I didn't even know how to fight yet, and I was swinging my hardest, and I just landed one, and I dropped him. But, he really wasn't like a real fighter. He was just in the gym working. But my point is that when that happens visually, right, for a girl who says she's just there to lose weight, because that's a lie I was telling when I was trying to figure out if I actually wanted to do it or not. I show up every night at 8 o'clock consistently, but I was like, oh no, I'm just trying to work out. I'm just trying to lose weight because I didn't want it to get around that I was actually thinking about boxing yet. And so when that happened, that's when the news kind of got around, like, this woman ain't here just, trying to lose weight. She's sparring, right?
But what made you decide? Okay, you got the nail thing going on. You sound like you're pretty successful at that in school. And what made you say, I want to go to the gym?
Well, first of all, like I said, I saw women's boxing for the first time.
Right.
I have Ali DNA, so something in me was ignited. And I've always been a fighter. Okay,
that's what I was getting at.
Alluded to how. Yeah. I've alluded to that. I've been a fighter. I was a street fighter. I'm not proud of it, but I've always had girls, that think you're going to be soft because you look a certain way. And I was one that never backed down from a fight, so I would get into it, and it got me in a lot of trouble. I actually ended up in juvenile hall at one point. But I've always been a fighter. I'm still a fighter now. You know what I'm saying? My husband thinks I'm crazy, so I would never, fight him, but I'm saying he knows the fire is still there. It never goes away, but you just get wiser. You get wiser.
Right. You're working with Roger Mayweather, Buddy McGirt. So you started boxing at 18, but when did you turn pro? At what age?
I had my first fight when I was, I think I was about 20 years old. So it was October 1999 was my first fight.
But that's a quick turnaround.
So I literally trained for a year, which isn't long, and then had my first fight. And I did not go amateur, so I ended up marrying my first husband, should I say, was a fighter. He was a world champion at one time, and when we started dating was when I was training, and I didn't really had no direction. So then he was like, wait a minute, like, let me step in and help her. So that's, from his point of view, he kind of became my manager, then he became my promoter. And then at a certain point, when we lived in Los Angeles, he said, it's time to step it up. We're going to move to Vegas which I dreaded, but I did it because I needed to train with Roger Mayweather. So we moved to Las Vegas. I started training with Roger, who was my favorite. And Roger was always like, man, you got that thug, you got a little thug in you, don't you? Because he would be around me behind the scenes,
right.
like, damn, you got some thug in you. So I was like, hey, don't get it twisted. So, Roger, may he rest in peace, but he was fun. But yeah, over the years, and then I went and trained with Buddy in Florida for a while. Also like training with Buddy. I talk to him still from time to time. He's funny as heck. And I trained with Senior for a short period of time. And then I've had some other great trainers, before them. Doug Huntley, Shadid, Saluki, so.
Mm-hmm. How did that connection with Roger Mayweather come about? Was it just something through the grapevine, Ali's daughter, she needs help, or how did that come about?
Well, my ex-husband knew him.
Oh,
he was in the fight game, so
yeah,
he knew him. So he basically just called him and said, "Hey, we want to come out there and train with you," because he saw that I needed to basically put more in my arsenal. I had the basics down. When I first started, it was always jab, jab, right hand, which was a lot of what I always did because that's all I really needed to do a lot of the time. But Roger really helped me start throwing combinations, change the speed up. That's how I stopped a lot of people TKO. There's a lot of little tricks and things that you do, not using the same rhythm the whole fight. Distance was really important. I learned the body shots, dig into the body, all of that. Hitting the mitts. Have you ever seen how Roger and Floyd hit the mitts the same way? So, he worked me really hard. I loved it. There's just levels. There's volume, right? You can have two fighters at the gym for the same amount of time, and one is going to have more output. Nobody outworked me in the gym, So the one thing that I pride myself on was being in shape because I had a fear of running out of gas. Like, you don't ever want to be in a situation where you see that you can, go into fourth gear, but then you can't because your body doesn't want to do it. I never wanted that to happen.
Matt, so let me ask you something. Roger Mayweather, right? Now, we know he was a great trainer, but I always felt like he didn't get the respect he deserved from the system, the boxing system, for politics, for whatever reason. Just how great of a trainer was he? Because you fought from age 20, you retired at what, 28? Is that?
How old was I? I don't know. I'm so bad with numbers.
Yeah, but you weren't 30.
So, yeah, about 29.
Okay, so
like maybe 29.
So in a 9-year period, 24 wins, 21 knockouts, 5 titles, 2 divisions, and you did that coming into boxing at 18, turning pro at 20, and basically, do you feel like you were still learning on the job the first couple of years after turning pro?
Absolutely, I was still learning. I was still learning. When I retired, I mean, I was going to keep learning because every time I fought, I didn't come and say, "Oh, look what I did." If anybody watched my tape, I'm never even happy after my fight. You see my face. I'm not like, because, if a ref stopped the fight before I got the knockout, like if I got a TKO and I wanted the knockout, I'd be mad. If I didn't perform the way I want to, I was fighting with the flu a few times. I was exhausted. There's so many things going on behind the scenes people don't even realize. So there's so many lackluster performances. I fought in Louisville one time. I fought this chick and I had fought 2 weeks before. I really shouldn't even have been fighting. I was exhausted. You could see it, in the ring, but nobody knew that. I didn't make the decision. My promoter at the time made the decision. So, young, learning, there was a lot going on, but at the same time, and then I wasn't, there's so many other things I knew I wanted to do. Boxing was never going to be forever. But for me, I came to the end of my road because it just wasn't anybody else left to fight. And the girls that I wanted to fight didn't want to make the fight. So I wasn't going to keep going. I wanted to start a family. I got married to Curtis, who I'm married to now, and wanted to start a family. So just kept it moving.
Yeah, what do you think attracted sponsors and brands to you? Because right now in women's boxing, we talk about it all the time. Seems like there's a struggle for all women to get big-time sponsorship and endorsement deals. We know that you're Laila Ali, but what do you think was the quality you had that attracted brands and sponsors to you? I talked about it on here. You had Adidas, you had a number of things going on for you while you were actively boxing. So what do you think it was that attracted them to you?
It's an amazing game, this thriller. We're deadly.
I think that I have an international name is what was the main difference of why a brand would want to get behind a boxer, because, you know, in our world that we're into, meaning you and me and anyone listening that's a boxing fan, you know, it's all good, but in the big scheme of things, a lot of people don't watch boxing, men's or women's boxing, to the extent where brands want you to wear their clothing, you know, and then we fight one time, whereas like with tennis or basketball, you know, people are turning on the TV, seeing you more, you know, more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really what it would have to do with. But I think that there definitely can be that person there. I mean, you definitely have to have the name recognition. Doesn't have to be Ali, just the name recognition. You got to obviously be at the top of your game. You have to be someone that they feel is going to be a good role model, is going to make, you know, represent their brand well. You know, I'm a business person, and I have, you know, I care about my name. I care about my character. I care about, you know, the integrity and the legacy that my father left, so people know what they're going to get with me, you know. So, you know, it's easy to work with people who understand that, aren't going to end up causing you a problem. So, you know, there's a lot that goes on there. But I think that times are different now. Even if you don't get, you know, an Adidas like I had, you know, there's other ways that money can be made that weren't even available to me back then. You know, I didn't have social media back then. You know, if I had social media, man, I'd be
game over.
Secretive. I'd be showing them me sparring these men and whooping up on them in the gym, you know, and seeing them whooping on me too. You know, that's what made the fight. That's what made the fight easy. You know, I would put all that out there and let people see the difference, the in the ring, out the ring, and all these different things. So I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but you know, I think that they have way more opportunities now than we ever had. They're making way more money now also than we ever had, you know?
Yeah, so I got two things for you. You talk about having that global name. What's something that you experienced as a result of having a global name that just totally blew your mind and you were like, wow, this is pretty cool?
That's a hard one. I don't really think of things that way. You know, I grew up with one of the most famous men in the world as my father. So I don't think of myself in that way, you know. But it never ceased to amaze me how many people loved my father and respected my father. They didn't he wasn't like a singer, you know, or an actor, where he was a real person and people loved him for, you know, his dedication and love of the people. He was the people's champ and the champ, you know, and he was consistent across his entire life, you know, and he was somebody that when he did wrong or made a mistake, because he was like an open book, he would come back and say, I was wrong. You know, when he made changes in his religion and how he looked at people and how he looked at the world, he would admit that he was wrong. You know what I mean? So people watched him change and grow and better himself. So, and he just made such a difference in people's lives and touched so many people's lives. So that's what I think about. I don't really think much of me. I rather people not notice me. I rather people not recognize me. I'm a pretty private person. The things that I do because I need to do it as a business person in terms of visibility and things like that. But I'm not like someone who wants to be popping on social media or none of that. Like, that stuff's not important to me. So, you know, I'm looking for a long-term effect, not just like, you know, a bunch of BS, basically, and noise. So.
Well, that's true, because you're hard to find on social media unless somebody goes to your Instagram page and you're basically a little post about what you're doing, but you're not on social media. Like, it's hard. If I didn't have an Instagram account, I only started getting caught up with Instagram, like, I don't know, 3 months ago. I didn't know that stuff existed. But outside of that, I wouldn't even know how to find you.
Yeah, well, you know, I realize the time we live in, you know, especially with brands I do business with now, they want to know, you know, are you on Instagram? There's certain things you need to do that's part of your contract. I'm posting and things like that, so I do it, but it's not a big focus of mine. You know, I have you know, a husband, I have 2 children, I got 3 dogs, you know, and I have businesses and a lot of things that I do behind the scenes, you know, that people aren't even aware of. So, you know, that's just not my first thought. Yeah.
How important would you say social media and your presence on social media and how you conduct yourself when it comes to social media has been when it comes to business dealings? Because you said people are asking, hey, you have this account or that. Do has that been something that's like, yo, if I'm not doing this right, that can backfire on me big time and hurt business dealings and my interactions with people? Hold on one second. Looks like her call dropped real quick. So let's get that squared away. Yeah, you there? It's all good. But what I was asking you was, you talk about having that social media presence. How important has it been for you to make sure when it comes to social media that you're putting out the right image and making sure you're conducting and portraying yourself the right way? Do you think social media, if not used right, can hurt dealings and business ventures and opportunities?
Of course. I think so. If you're that at the end of the day, I see things sometimes that make me cringe, but I'm like, hey, that's how that person wants to carry themselves. That's who they are. Then that's fine. There's just certain things that I'm not going to do because it's not consistent with the image that I want to portray in my character, and the things that, I think people think of when they think of me. So I think that everybody kind of has their own lane, but I think that, consistency is important, and if you're going to try to pretend to be something that you're not, it's only going to last so long anyway. So luckily, I don't have to pretend. This is really who I am. This is me. Now, don't get me wrong. I can cuss with the best of them. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to be. I also know the young girls are watching me, so I would never want to portray myself that way. I've been in some situations where I went off in public and probably got caught on camera cussing in a fighting situation, and I was okay with it because of the context, right, of where I was and what the situation was. I'm not going to pretend that I don't, but it's just not something that I would just do on a regular basis, right, because that's not the way I want to, represent myself and represent women or black women. So there's a lot of different things that I think about, but everybody's different. I don't expect everyone to be like me.
Right. Now, when it comes to the women today, is there anyone in particular that catches your eye? Like because we all think you're the face of women's boxing. We think it's going to be like that. We don't think it ever changes, right? But is there anyone right now we think for this era who you're watching and you're like, this could be the one, or these couple could be the one, or what do you think? Because there's so many great fighters. Just trying to get your opinion on what you think.
Yeah. I hate that there has to be one face, or that the women feel like there has to be one face. You know what I mean? I think that there can definitely be more than one, because one person cannot carry the sport. They just can't. There's probably going to be one girl who stands out. I know what you mean, that might maybe get the deals and all that. I don't know. But the girls that, there's so much talent, I just so many more that have been inspired into the sport back in the day, by those who came before them and started their amateur careers, right? And now they're pro. So they do have a lot more experience, right? They've been fighting for a while, and they want more. They expect more because there's more available. Girls that I would love to get some real opportunities on big platforms are Tiara Brown. There's a girl named Stephanie Simon that I really like. She was in the service, and now she's fighting. She's a little older, but she's still doing her thing. Of course, I love Alicia Baumgardner. I love what she brings. I've always been a fan of Michaela Mayer. Michaela was in the gym when I was training. I remember her, little young buck in the gym, with her father when I was kind of on my way going out. So it's nice to see where she's at now and see her blossom into a grown woman. The talent pool is really deep, and there's just really too many names to mention.
Right. What do you think about Caroline Dubois?
Meet Voto AI, the photo editing software that everyone's talking about.
I like Caroline. I think that she's very talented. She's got a little fire inside. She wants it. She wants it bad. You know. She wants to get there, and I know that she will, because she wants it, right? I think that she's in a weight class where there's just so much competition, which makes it fun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It makes it fun. So it's fun to have a little back and forth and have somebody that, regardless of how confident you are, you know is going to give you the business, you know? And then you really get to test yourself. That's something I didn't have, you know? So I'm excited for these ladies.
You know, back when you were fighting, it wasn't often I heard somebody saying, somebody putting duck sauce on the fried rice. You know, now they hear it all the time, man. Baumgartner is ducking Dubois, or, you know, Clarissa is ducking this one, or Shadesha this, Franchon this. When you take a look at it right now, someone like Alicia Baumgartner, it looks like she wants to keep moving up the ladder, bigger names, big money fights, and not fighting someone like Caroline Dubois right now. Do you think that it's more beneficial to clip the little young lion who's up and coming, or focus more on the bigger name, the bigger pot of money? Because nothing's guaranteed. Like, tomorrow's not guaranteed with these women in their career. How do you feel about that, Laila?
Well, the way I would go about it is if there's a big fight with someone that's going to be a competitive fight, then you build that fight. You don't go fight them right now just because they're saying that you're ducking them, or they're saying you're scared, or the public's saying you're scared. The public never really knows what's going on. You know what I mean? For the most part. Sometimes they're right. But at the end of the day, it's just like De La Hoya and Shane mostly lived in California together. They saw each other at tournaments. They sparred each other. They did not wait to fight until later in their careers, when the money was right, when the time was right. You know, you don't fight just because. It's like, oh, okay, I got somebody. Build her up. So I understand what Alicia's saying about, you know, Caroline. Like, let's build her up. You know what I'm saying? And she has other fish to fry before she fights her. She wants to fight Amanda Serrano or whoever else for whatever reason. It doesn't mean she's ducking her, and vice versa. You know, and I think that it just builds up more excitement for the fight to build a super fight, because people don't know Caroline Dubois like they need to. Both of them need to build their names more. You know what I mean? So I think that timing is important, and it's a smart move. You know, so that's the way I would go about it. I would definitely. That's what happened with Ann Wolfe and I. Mm-hmm. So Ann Wolfe was calling me out from the very beginning, before I even had any experience, and I publicly said, anyone can go back and watch those videos. I said, oh no, I'm going to fight her when the time is right. So I was being honest. I said, when the time is right, I'm a fighter. So then when the time came, okay, that's when she was nowhere to be found, because at that point, I had fought girls that she fought, stopped them. You know, now she felt differently. You know, she felt differently about fighting me. It's like she wanted to fight me in the beginning, but then when you're able to look at how someone did against the opponents you fought, when you get a chance to come ringside and watch them fight, then you get to see, you know. Mm-hmm. So, and some people, it's not that they're scared, you know, people know that. People don't fight people sometimes because they don't want to ruin the mystique of them being so powerful and so big and bad, and, you know, because then it'll mess with their money. So they don't want to take those chances, you know. And then some of us care about legacy, care about bragging rights, care about, you know, wanting to, you know, you got to pay the cost to be the boss. Mm-hmm. So, and care and know that you're only as good as the people you fight. So at the end of the day, at some point, yeah, talk your shit, but we got to fight at some point. We're not just going to talk.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to get in the ring at some point. Mm-hmm. So, and when that doesn't happen, that's when you say, okay, you know, so all of this is going on right now. Fans can say so-and-so scared. It really comes down to, okay, after so much time goes by, and then if it just never happens, and it just doesn't make sense anymore. When the time is right, it's ripe. Everyone knows it's ripe. It's ready to go. They don't want to get in there. That's when you can say they're ducking on the duck sauce, or whatever you say.
Putting
what do you say?
Putting duck sauce on the fried rice. Yeah. And don't take it to the stupid. You know what I'm saying? You know.
Don't take it to the stupid.
Don't take it to the stupid.
I'm probably gonna have to get off in about 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you two more questions. With Ann Wolfe, what are the facts? People say you ducked it. People say she ducked you. What was it? Was it money? Was it timing? Why didn't y'all two fight? Because to this day, we debate over who would have won.
Right. So if anyone doesn't know, right, I like facts, right? It's he say, she say all day long.
Right.
You can do an interview and say her what she wants to say. I can do an interview and say what I want to say. And at the end of the day, she said out her own mouth at a certain point, she said that she wasn't getting paid the amount of money that she wanted. I was getting X amount. She was getting a certain amount. So she didn't want the fight. So I was like, thank you for finally saying the truth. Okay, because when I fought Christy Martin, and my husband at the time and I promoted the fight, put you on the undercard to have a rematch with Ann Wolfe. If anybody knows the history, I don't put someone on my undercard to promote them, to promote our fight next, only not to fight them. I don't give them that platform for people to say, I want you to fight her, only for me to say no. We built the fight up. She then said it wasn't enough money. So if all of that is there, if anybody wants to go do the research, that's why we didn't fight. So it wasn't me. I don't have any reason, you know what I'm saying, to not fight her. So one thing about me, and I've said it before, like if somebody was to knock me out, then I would just have to say, man, you bad. You know, you were a better fighter that night. I'd ask for a rematch. That's not anything to be scared of. Did I think it was going to happen? Absolutely not. But I'm just saying, like that, I don't have a scary bone in my body. I really just don't. So, and I don't think that she was necessarily scared of me either. She just didn't want to fight me for multiple reasons. And I'm still going to do my video. Don't y'all worry. I just haven't had the time. But, you know, I do things on my time.
Right.
I recently heard her talking again and making some comments saying she still had some hamburgers. So I said, oh, okay, we want to talk again? All right. We can go nip this in the bud.
Okay. I got one more question. I know you got to go, but two things. Do you have any websites or anything? People are asking about Laila Ali merch. Anything? Is there any
Absolutely.
Go ahead and shout it out.
So my website is shop.lailaali.com, and that's where everything is. And I actually know that you've been enjoying my spices. I heard you've been talking about them. I appreciate it. I appreciate the love. I think I even got some extra orders off of you.
Yep.
There's a little spike.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to offer your audience a discount code for 15% off anything they want. And they just use the code, how about HOODCHAMP? HOODCHAMP15.
Oh, yeah, that'll work.
So, HOODCHAMP 15. And then they can put that in on checkout and get 15% off anything that they want from the shop. And that's where I have like my boxing gloves and my t-shirts and autographs and all that kind of stuff. Polly, stop. My dog, my little puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Get off his head. Yeah, so, but yeah, and I want to say thank you to you just for all of the kind things that you've said about my father, about me. I love the way you support and uplift women's boxing. And help, you know, shine light on a lot of the girls in the sport. And just the comments, I've seen some of the comments, because I've listened to your show. I've had people say, you know, you got to listen to the show. Back before you even talking about me, I was like, man, he really knows his stuff, you know, and I've seen how the show has evolved, and I've seen some of the comments, and I just want to tell everybody, you know, I appreciate them and thank you.
All right, but I appreciate that feedback. So one more thing, there's a gentleman here whose wife is in the hospital. Her name's Lisa. She's a big fan of yours. He was hoping that you could just give her a shout out, say hello, Lisa. That would make her day. She's in the hospital right now.
Why is everyone using Ninja Transfers?
Ninja Transfers is definitely killing them.
Hello, Lisa. I'm sending you positive healing vibes. I know that you are going to be restored back to your best self. So hang in there and keep a positive mind.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, last question. What's up with the GOAT? The GOAT. She went on the Breakfast Club. Anything you want to say about that? I mean, you know, because I know you ain't into all the drama, but I gotta ask.
Man, you know that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I really said what needed to be said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in my videos, I knew that more would probably be said, and you know, I think I covered everything, and I truly believe that, when somebody shows you who they are, you just pretty much believe them the first time. Like Maya Angelou said, there's really not anything else to say other than that.
Right. Okay, perfect. But I know you got to go. I just want to tell you thank you again. You could come out here anytime, float through the comments every now and then, say hello, man. We appreciate it. But I just want to tell you, man, I got a lot of respect for you, for your family, for what you did, what you're doing now. You being a role model and just being humble, because you don't have to come on my channel. I'm not these big platforms. So for you to come here and have a conversation with myself in the chat, I want to just tell you, man, I'm forever indebted to that. I really, really appreciate it. You made my year. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I appreciate you. And I think that people who are making a positive difference in the world deserve a spotlight, and if you can help people change their mindset to be more successful in life, and I think that's a lot of what you do, what you've been doing for some time. Like when I go look at your channel, of course you're going to have fun and talk shit and cuss and all that. That's fun. I mean, you got to be entertaining, but I think that there's a nice balance there. You're very talented. And I hope you have much success in the future, now and forever, and for your family. So thank you so much. Thanks for all the love. We'll stay in touch. I'll come on one day. We could do a video, on camera, you know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So, and maybe I can get some of that, fried rice and chicken.
Oh my God. Yeah. Don't take it to the stupid. Yeah. We Well, hey, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. You have a good night.
I'll check in to the comments later and make sure everyone enjoyed it, but I got to go now.
Okay.
So take care, everyone. Have a good evening.
All right, you too, champ. All right, bye-bye. Okay,
Bye-bye.
all right. All right, that was Laila Ali.